Hi guys, it's John from Double Sleeved here, and we are looking today at Lurrus of the Dream Den. If you haven't seen the other 4 videos, you need to go and check them out. There's a playlist online on our channel where you can check out all 4 videos and see what our thoughts are very briefly. From Garuda, Gigantha, Kahira, and yesterday, Karuga. Finally, we've got a card that doesn't end in an A. So, Lurrus of the Dream Den. What a card. And it has made some ripples already on Magic the Gathering Arena. Crokeyz has managed to take a Lurrus deck to #1. I will link the deck in the description, and I will touch on it significantly at the start when we look at what decks this could feature in, because he's managed to go to #1 in the rankings with it, and it is only a slight adaptation to an already top standard deck. But let's just have a quick look at Lurrus. So, a 3/2 Cat Nightmare for 1 Orzhov. Companion. Each permanent card in your starting deck has converted mana cost 2 or less. It has lifelink, and during each of your turns, you may cast 1 permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. Okay, so what we've got here, with a little myself sorted, what we've got here is a Cat Nightmare, not particularly useful in terms of typing, for 3 mana, which interestingly enough conflicts with the main theme of the deck, which is a 2 or less mana. It's a 3/2, so it's okay. With lifelink, fine, not bad. It's very much the fact that as a companion you can cast it whenever you want, and it's just always there, coupled with during each of your turns you may cast a permanent spell of 2 or less from your graveyard. Now that is an ability, which, what are you going to do? A great ability. So we've got the obvious combo. Cauldron Familiar. 1 mana, it's a cat, I like the synergy. When it enters the battlefield, opponent loses a life, you gain a life. Should I say each opponent loses a life. You can sacrifice a food to return this from the graveyard to your battlefield. It's a 1/1. Everyone knows this card. I remember when it first came out. I should have done a video on it. I think everyone saw the opportunity in this card and just couldn't quite figure it out. When you combine it with Witch's Oven, which is another 1 mana artifact, you tap it, sacrifice a creature, create a food token. So what have you got there? You've got this cycle of tapping the Witch's Oven, sacrificing the Cauldron Familiar, creating a food token, sacrificing the food token, and bringing the Cauldron Familiar back out from the graveyard. Absolutely mental how they let that go through. But then we've got some new cards that sort of smash in there. Serrated Scorpion seems to be making waves. It's a 1/2 for 1. When Serrated Scorpion dies, it deals 2 damage to each opponent, and you gain 2 life. So it's twice as powerful as the Cauldron Familiar, but doesn't have the recursion ability, but does have toughness of 2. Clearly with Witch's Oven, you sacrifice this, or another sack outlet, and you're doing 2 damage and you're gaining 2 life. And then with Lurrus, you're able to bring this back out for 1 mana from the graveyard back into the battlefield. That is a sick and disturbing combination. Now, Crokeyz had coupled it with some of these cards. I've thrown some of my own cards in here. If you want to see his exact deck, like I said, I'll link it. You can just have a look. But I'm not sold on some of these. I can see what he's doing, and obviously it's really worked. So who am I to comment? I'm not the #1 ranked Magic Arena player in the world, so maybe my opinion isn't quite as valid. But ayo, it's a human soldier 1/1 Whisper Squad for 1. A 1 and a black. Search your library for a card named Whisper Squad. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So it's a 1 mana card that for an extra 2 mana you can get another card, another 1/1 out. And it's a way of, I guess, filling your board, which, if you've got 4 copies of, for 7 mana, you're getting 4 copies of this out. I just don't feel like it gets anywhere. I get that you're filling the board with things, but there are plenty of spells that can do that. So, anywho, the other part of this, which I obviously not touched on initially, is Lurrus's ability says permanents have to be CMC 2 or lower. So you've got Call of the Death Dweller, which just works crazy with a sacrifice deck. Return up to 2 target creature cards with a total converted mana cost of 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. Put a Death Touch counter on either of them, put a Menace counter on either of them. So for 3 mana, you're potentially getting a 2 and a 1 mana card out of the graveyard onto the battlefield, and you're giving one of them a Death Touch counter, and you're giving one of them a Menace counter. Sick and twisted. Sick and twisted. Priest of Forgotten Gods, a sack outlet that adds mana and draws a card. So tap and sacrifice 2 creatures, add any number of target players, each lose 2 life and sacrifice a creature, and you add 2 mana and draw a card. What world are we living in where these cards are combining? Now, you throw in, I believe, a few Crokeyz. For 2 mana, it sacrifices itself, which, again, could play off other sacrifice outlets. Whenever Crokeyz enters the battlefield or attacks, each opponent discards a card, so that's annoying. And then each opponent who didn't discard a card, or a non-land card, loses 3 life. Bit of life loss. The other part of this is that when it's in your graveyard, which you could have put there, obviously, by casting it for 2, for 4 mana and escaping, you've then got a 6/6, which is a significant beast to have out. See, some other cards which I'm not sure he's necessarily played with, but, you know, are an option. He's obviously going down the Rakdos route. But you've got Cruel Celebrant, which are a white and a black, which matches, again, the colours of Lurrus. Whenever Cruel Celebrant or another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Potentially something that can just sit there and add up with all of the cats. It just doubles up that cat function. Is it worth it? I don't know. Quite possibly. You've got cards like Bankrupting Blood. You cast this spell by sacrificing 2 creatures. Again, another good way of sacking. And you draw 3 cards. Getting the cards that you need into your hands, I think, could be quite useful. Fireblade Artist. It's a 2/2 for 2 with haste. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice a creature. You don't have to. You may. When you do, it deals 2 damage to a target opponent or planeswalker. I think a hasty 2/2 that allows you to sack. Pitiless Pontiff. Again, for 1 and sacrificing a creature, it gains Death Touch and Indestructible. Could be very useful. Another sack outlet. Footlight Fiend. I feel like this is a no-brainer. When it dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. Recur it. It's black or red. Another good card. Corpse Churn. An instant. Put the top 3 cards of your library into the graveyard. Then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Fill the graveyard. Put a creature into your hand. And in my opinion, and I remember when I saw it, one of the most broken cards. I don't think he's got this in his deck. It will feature in most decks, I'd have thought, that play any sort of black or green and is heavily creature based. Fiend Artisan is a 1/1 for 2 mana. Black or green, black or green. Fiend Artisan gets +1/+1 for each creature in your graveyard. If you're playing a sacrifice deck, you're going to have a lot of creatures in your graveyard. This is also for 2 mana, which could be cast with Lurrus. For X and black or green, you can tap and sacrifice another creature, so it's a sack outlet. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less. Put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Activate this ability only time you can cast a sorcery. You can get another Fiend Artisan out. It's not legendary. You can have 4 of them if you want. What? Sorry, what? Unbelievable. So another direction we're going to move in. What else could you do with Lurrus? Because that's the obvious, the sacrifice-based deck. You've got cycling. Flourishing Fox. What a friendly little foxy critter we've got here. He's a 1. 1/1 for 1. Whenever you cycle another card, put a 1/1 counter on him. All about cycling. Drannith Healer. Another 2 mana. Cycling. For 1. It's a 2/2 for 2. Whenever you cycle another card, you gain a life. Potentially mix it up with a bit of life gain. We'll come on to life gain at the end. Whenever you cycle another card for this Valiant Rescuer, for the first time each turn, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Cycle each turn, can cycling all the time. 3 and a 1 for 2 mana. Another good card. Drannith Stinger. Another funky little cycler. 2/2 for 2. Whenever you cycle another card, Drannith Stinger. Get my words out. Drannith Stinger deals 1 damage to each opponent. All these 1 mana cycles really add up. Surveil. We're bringing Surveil back, baby. And this is a 2/2 for 1. It's a defender. You remember Thoughtbound Phantasm? Everyone loved it. I still love it. Whenever you Surveil, put a 1/1 counter on Thoughtbound Phantasm. As long as it has 3 counters on it, it can attack as though it didn't have defender, and it would be a 5/5. Lovely. So we need to start surveilling. Why would we want to surveil? We're going to put stuff in the graveyard. Absolutely brilliant. That's what Lurrus wants, so we can cast stuff out of the graveyard. Dimir Spybug. A Menacey 1/1. Whenever you surveil, put a 1/1 on him. Amazing. That's a game winner, he is. Flying. Menace. You crazy. Barrier of Bones. When it enters the battlefield, surveil 1. Pull that out of your graveyard. Chump block. It's a 0/3. Lovely. Notion Rain. Sorcery. So can be 3 mana. Surveil 2, then draw 2 cards. It deals 2 damage to you. Doesn't really matter. Gets you what you need. Gets you 2 cards in the bin. Gets you to draw 2 cards. Mission Briefing. 2 cards. Then choose an instant or sorcery in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. If it were put in the graveyard, then you exile it. So great. So you play Mission Briefing, then you play Notion Rain. Lovely. Sinister Sabotage. We're doing a little bit of control work now. We've got a counter spell out with Surveil 1. Double whammy. Controlling the board a little bit. Unexplained Disappearance. Return target creature to its owner's hand. That could be our own creature if we wanted it to be. Surveil 1. Price of Fame. Another instant. That's why it's 4. Costs 2 less if it targets a legendary creature, which it may do. Destroy it. Destroy that creature and then Surveil 2. I know it's more expensive. I know there are other cards out there. I know they've brought out a new one which is 1 or 2 mana and it can destroy a creature with no counters on it, but we get the Surveil as well. And then a couple of watch outs for Lurrus. I like it. I like Lurrus. I think it's strong. It's clearly going to feature massively in competitive play, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see a significant amount of sacrifice, especially Rakdos sacrifice, in top tier. So what have we got to watch out for? A couple off the top of my head. Massacre Girl. Again, featured fairly significantly previously. It's a 4/4, but quite importantly, when it enters, each other creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Whenever a creature dies, each creature other than Massacre Girl gets -1/-1 until end of turn. So if you've got any 1, 2, 3 toughness creatures out there, it's going to start to add up. Ritual of Soot. Destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less. That takes out the whole board. Soul Guide Lantern. When it enters the battlefield, exile target card from a graveyard, and you can just exile the opponent's graveyard by tapping and sacrificing it. Hushbringer. It's a 2 mana. Creatures entering the battlefield or dying don't cause abilities to trigger. That ruins most of the sacrifice deck completely. And yes, it's a card that can be destroyed like any other, but it's a 2 mana shutdown of your deck, and almost as much as Leyline of the Void, which can start on the battlefield for nothing. If a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. Immediately, all that sacrificing is gone. Lurrus is broken and doesn't work anymore. So look, guys, the ultimate question is always, do I think Lurrus is a top tier card? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Will we see it in competitive play? Yes. We already are seeing it in competitive play. Will it work in competitive play without being a companion? Yeah, absolutely. I would expect to see it in some black or white decks as a card for 3 mana. It's powerful as a card for 3 mana. It's a lifelink 3/2, and it has a great ability where if you've got any cards in the graveyard, any permanents for 1 or 2 mana, then it will work. So yeah, of course we'll see it. And I've talked you through a few of my ideas of where I would put it. I think we haven't seen enough out of cycling yet, although we will. Any mechanic that is loading the graveyard, you know, I can see it floating around in a control deck. I can see it floating around in a tribal deck, cat tribal. Why not? There isn't much nightmare tribal out there, certainly of the low mana costs, but absolutely. I think anything that is running white or black needs to seriously consider throwing a Lurrus or a couple of Lurruses into the main deck. That's my opinion. So there you go. Let us know if we've come anywhere near what you were expecting. Did we do Lurrus justice? Have we made sense? I feel like I've not really made a huge amount of sense, but hey, we're trying. Do we think Lurrus is the best companion? So far, if I've got to be honest, yes. There's a lot of hype around Garuda, and I know I did my Garuda video and I said it is what it is. I don't think it's great, and it sort of seems to be doing a lot of work in Standard and in Legacy, but I still don't rate it. I've not lost to a Garuda deck yet on Arena, and yeah, alright, I don't play the top level. I'm certainly not rank 1, but I just don't see it. Stacking up when all the dust has settled. So either way, I hope you enjoyed this style of video, slightly different format, chatting with you guys. You see me in my natural habitat where these videos are made. If you prefer this, let me know in the comments below. If you'd rather not see my face, I completely understand. I'd rather not get that comment. Maybe word it slightly better. If you prefer it being short form, quick, punchy, couple of minutes, tell us what you think of the card and then move on, John. Then I'm behind you. I'm all about that life. Either way, if you like this video, like it. I would absolutely love for you to subscribe. It would make my day. When I see another subscriber on our channel, oh, that's it. That's the feeling. Share the videos with your friends and family. Why not? Who doesn't want to learn about Lurrus, a cat nightmare? Even if you don't know what magic is. And above all else, guys, in these troubling times, stay safe, look after yourselves and your loved ones, and we'll hopefully see you for another one tomorrow.